At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps.
Observations TFR, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday.
What's going on? What is going on? Well, it is Thursday, Truth Thursdays on hashtag Observations TFR, episode 90. What's the topic for today? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. The only problem is, what happened to the bootstraps? Before we go any further, I have to introduce my special guest host, my sister Tonya M. Congress. How you doing today? What's going on with you? How you feeling? Talk to him.
Good morning and good afternoon on the East Coast. Once again, my name is Tonya M. Congress. I am the co-host here at hashtag Observations TFR. We have a jam-packed show for you in line today. The subject matter is always exciting. Well, today, I think it's my fourth day being full of energy, good rest, down another pound. And just for those of you who don't know, I'll go ahead and make that announcement. I'm giving myself 25 weeks to have off a total of 70 pounds. 25 weeks to my life goal of 70 pounds. So I have already lost quite a bit, but I'm starting now because of the first 20 pounds were water weight. So I have, well, that's not the first 20, but the remaining 50. So I guess altogether it'll be 25 weeks, but I had water weight of 20 pounds, all right? So now we're into the weight portion of it. I have taken my supplements this morning. I advise you guys, if you are doing what you should be doing, if you've been paying attention to our broadcast, you should have started incorporating intermittent fasting into your diet, whether it's you're trying to lose weight, whether you're trying to be healthier, whether you're trying to be more sound and clear of mind. You want to incorporate intermittent fasting as part of your lifelong regimen from here on out, not just to lose weight, but from here on out, okay? So today I got my bowl of navel orange, and I have some ginger underneath there. And of course I have my cup of beverage here. It is a coffee, it's a type of coffee, but it has very high-powered supplements in it to replace the caffeine portion. And actually what's in here is better than caffeine. I'll be sharing that with you in the oncoming weeks because I'm still experimenting and I'm still getting data to share with you guys who may have things like high blood pressure and diabetes and things like that. I want to make sure that that's going to be comparable for you to use, okay? But we are ready to go today. How are you doing today, D?
Hey, I'm doing as well as can be expected. We are in the middle of a pandemic, right? So, I'm doing as well as can be expected under the circumstances. And I'm trying to see what's going on with what we're doing right here. Let me refresh this right here, people. Listen, we want to shout out to everybody that's listening to us on Vimeo, on FB, on the Film Review Live channel, and You Found the Spot channels. Make sure that you go there and check us out. Also, we want to say what's going on to everybody that's watching us on YouTube, which I don't know what's going on with YouTube. I'm getting a large image of myself, but no image of the wider image. I'm trying to see what I'm supposed to be seeing, but I don't see what I'm supposed to see. But we're going to keep on going. Thanks for
I see you just fine on YouTube. I mean, yeah, I'm looking at YouTube. You're coming up just fine.
Okay, that's fine. Then we'll just keep moving then. All right, people. So what is the topic for today? Truth Thursdays. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Observations episode 90. What does it mean to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, quote unquote, especially when those telling you to do so are receiving the set-asides that were meant for you? The phone lines are open, 213-943-3358, 213-943-3358. It's Truth Thursdays, and Crazy D and his special guest host, Tonya M. Congress, take a look at the phrase, quote unquote, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, how it's been applied to American blacks, and how it's been used to redistribute wealth into the hands of immigrants to the United States to further alienate the American black population. That is the topic for today. Smash the share button, smash the like button, because we are headed somewhere today. And without further ado, let's go into the memes, because the memes bring up everything that we are talking about, right? They warm up everything that we are talking about. So get your people ready. Tell them tune in. All right. Let's start with news that came in from Canada just last evening. News that came in from Canada just yesterday afternoon. Okay, what did they say happened in Canada? Oh, Canada declares the Proud Boys a terrorist group. Canada declares the Proud Boys a terrorist group. That's interesting. Canada declares the Proud Boys a terrorist group. Let's keep going. What's going on to Tracy Trace that's watching, and what's going on to Stuart Elsie who's watching this morning? We see them on the board, right? Let's see what else. Don't forget you can leave your comments on the board, and we will read your comments, right? And let's see what's next here. Okay, here we go. Here's a question that is always, it's not perplexing, but it's a question that you have to ask sometimes when people talk about what the civilizations and what civilizations have done and what they have done, what they haven't done. You have to ask yourself, when is White History Month? No, really. When is White History Month? And the person who created this meme said, on pilgrims. When is White History Month, right? What do Caucasians actually, this is an actual question, and some of those who believe in the world society and all that, they can call up 213-943-3358. What does the Caucasian actually have to be proud of? When is White History Month? Because there's really no real white history without including what was stolen from other cultures that make up what you think your culture is. Like the man that was the shaman, the Q9 shaman, those horns are Native American. From the buffalo, that was a Native American who wore those horns. That was not something that the European necessarily did. So where is the American history? Oh, the American history, or white history. The white history is always being a hindrance to people, black people. That's what the history is, always being a hindrance. So let's pull this up. This is the next one. This is the next meme right here. This person says, damn, people are magically, suspiciously, all of a sudden dying. Dying spelled wrong, but let's keep going. Or getting severe nerve damage from after they get that shot. Why are they not reporting the victims of this to the public? Let's read it again. Damn. People are magically, suspiciously, all of a sudden dying or getting severe nerve damage after they get that shot. Why are they not reporting the victims of the experimental agent to the public? Why aren't they reporting this? Oh yeah, this just came out too. Let me drop that down before we go on with the thing. Just came out in the media. You have to watch you have to watch news, right? Just came out in the media that because there are so many people at the border and there are so many children unattended or unaccompanied children at the border that Biden is going to have to open up those same cages that Donald Trump had open. That really started with Obama. They're going to have to open up the detention center that everybody criticized Trump for, but it was Obama who first did it, but then Biden is going to have to do it because there's been such a rush at the border. How is the media going to cover that fact that he's going to have to do the same thing that Donald Trump had to do? How are they going to cover that, right? So let's keep going. Just a little anecdote from the news. From real news, you get the real news and not the fake news. Unfortunately, it is fake news. Caesar Campbell, I see that he's watching. Good morning to him. Yep, let's see. Let's go to this meme right here. What does the meme read? It reads, as you can see, first, as you can see, there is a starting line. There are a couple of hurdles on the left side of the person where the Caucasian is. There's a couple of hurdles that have to be leaped. On the right side is a black woman. She's ready to run, but she has a ball and chain. There's a couple of landmines. We know about landmines from Kamala, who was speaking to the West Virginian coal miners and saying because they were coal miners, they would be able to work to remove land mines. Okay, so there are a couple of land mines. There's some barbed wire and pole. There's a lake to get over. There's some jagged rocks to get over, and then you got to get over the thicket of a brush before you get to the finish line. That is the black woman's plight, plus she has a ball and chain around her right leg. The Caucasian man only has 2 hurdles to hop to get to the finish line, and he reads in this caption, he says, "Stop complaining. It's the same distance. You blacks always pulling the quote-unquote race card. Stop complaining. It's the same distance. You blacks always pulling the quote-unquote race card." That is funny about this meme because I used to say the black people will be at the 1 yard line with 4 downs, with 4 downs to get into the end zone, and somewhere there will be up there in the booth, the refs up in the booth will call it, we will be moved back 20 to 30 yards, lose 3 downs, and you're on 4th down to try to get to the touchdown. It seems like every time. So I've equated it to sport myself.
But you know what, though?
Go ahead.
You know what? It's not exactly the same distance. If you look at that, her line is a little bit behind his, and he had to look backwards over his shoulder, where she looked slightly forward, not over her shoulder, but slightly forward to her left. He had to look backwards to his right because her line was a little bit behind his. So it's not the same distance if your starting line is behind you. It's behind the other person. It's not the same distance.
That's not the same distance. Very observant eagle eye. All right. So this meme comes in, and the person says, "It's official. Proud Boys are designated a terrorist organization. Young people, working people, black, brown, and indigenous people. This is our victory." Let me read it again. He says, "It's official. Proud Boys are designated a terrorist organization. Young people, working people, black, brown, and indigenous people. This is our victory." And then the person who comments underneath says, "What about the KKK? They've been terrorizing for decades. What are they labeled as?" What about the KKK? They've been terrorizing for decades. What are they labeled as? Now, I don't know where the person gets off talking about. I've never seen the KKK really messing with the brown, the Mexican, or the indigenous people. The indigenous people originally were us before some people came across the Bering Strait. But that's another story for another time. But the United States government were dealing with them harshly too. But the brown, I didn't know them to be messed with the Klan. And as a person who thinks there is a coalition, which there is not. I live out here in Las Vegas, Nevada. There is no black and brown indigenous coalition. There's not. I wish that some black people would stop being bleeding hearts for everyone. Let everyone hold their own water barrel. Okay, let's move on. Now, religious people love to be right, but they have a problem living right. Say that again. Religious people love to be right, but they have a problem living right. What do you got to say to that?
That is such a profound, simple, yet profound statement. Religious people. So I just posted something this morning on my timeline about religion. I said religion introduced division between God and man so that commerce and politics became the preferred focus. So religion in our Western world is intended to be the mechanism or the machine that or the catalyst for us expressing our relationship with God. However, that is it is a partially informed and misinformed view of things, because once you wake up, and I'm talking about being consciously conscious, not this fashionable consciousness. I'm talking about consciously conscious. Once you wake up, you realize that is not the case, that God and man basically are one. And that's why I posted that post, that religion introduced division between God and man so that commerce and politics became the preferred focus. Once commerce and politics entered the game in 325 AD, Constantine, Roman Catholicism, everything else was derived from that. I don't care whether it's Protestant denominations or whatever. They all are particularly interested in commerce and politics. The lifestyle then becomes, even though it is touted and preached, it becomes realistically secondary to the whole equation as long as that commerce and politics is being promoted. So what we have here is a failure to communicate with the God within us, and it creates something that is a contradiction to the world around us, whereas there should be more of an influence. There's a contradiction. Thus means like this: religious people love to be right, but have a problem living right. So you will see us in the marketplaces. You will see the Hebrew Israelites arguing with the Christians, arguing with the Muslims, arguing with the Hare Krishnas, arguing with every other group and every subgroup that is derived from each of those. And everybody is having a pissing contest on public square about who knows what, and who can end with the last word, and who can be most boisterous, and who can spout out the most about what they believe. With no belief without manifestation is a big fat zero. So the living right, your integrity and your character is the first thing that proves who you are in any belief system where you're saying God is the head of it. Period.
Let's keep moving. Speaking of belief systems, right? This next means smash the share button, smash the like button, because we are going someplace today. What is the topic? Truth Thursdays. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. What happened to the bootstraps, though? What happened to the bootstraps? What happened to the bootstraps? Okay. So let's go on to this next meme. Okay. Speaking of bootstraps. This one comes from Willie Jackson. He goes by the DJ name DJ Chicago, Cleveland, Ohio. Cutter, blender, extraordinaire, mix CDs at the time now. Mixed digitals are thorough. I will give compliment where compliment is due. People that's dope should inspire you. People that are dope should inspire you, not make you jealous and insecure. People who are dope should inspire you, not make you jealous and insecure. Wish they're clipping on this? I can't believe it. Really? Wow. Okay. I just wish
I'm trying to get a head start.
Yeah, I just wish that sage wisdom had been around at the time when my CD DVD store was open, being the youngest to open up a CD DVD store and have it be successful. And I saw plenty of grand openings and grand closings of people's so-called businesses. I wish that sage knowledge of people who are dope should inspire you, not make you jealous and insecure. I just wish that sage knowledge was in the minds of the people then. We often wait until it's too late. All right. So here's one. Here's one that comes from DJ LV, right? This one comes from DJ LV. This is an interesting perspective, right? And I think that the perspective is interesting, like I said, but it is a perspective that is interesting, but I think it's a perspective that is just a little, my opinion, it's just my opinion, just a little skewed, and I'm going to bring it up so I can read it, right? I'm going to bring it up bigger so I can read it and you can read along. You do realize that if UFOs exist, and they do, then all of your religious scholars is full of snit. Like I've been telling you for many years, It also means your Caucasian Jesus ain't never coming back, and pretty much proof that he never existed. And if your bloodline is not directly connected to the original man, then who are you and what do you want from the original man? And last but not least, your shepherd, aka flock master, has led the flock astray once again. I've been telling you to cancel Christmas forever. Hope you do it soon. Didn't you read that Satan pulled off his greatest act, deceiving you, the public? Tear crying emojis, face emojis. You don't know what the hell is real anymore. He emojis. Now, there's a problem about the UFOs because there's a problem with the UFOs. And let me bring this down so that you can see what I'm saying. I'm not denying the existence of UFOs, but I'm denying the lack of actual fact that they're not mentioned in the Bible. There's a mention of the wheel within wheels in the Bible, positioned next to the cherubim. You know, like cherubims fell some, but some still guard the gateway to the kingdom of heaven. So what we're looking for is Ezekiel chapter 1, 16, and Ezekiel 10, 9, and 10. So we're looking for Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 16, and we're looking for chapter 10, 9 through 10. If you could pull that up real quick. It's just a little flaw because the wheel within wheels have been described, right, in the Bible by Ezekiel. So it's not like we don't know that they exist if you read your Bible. It's not like you don't know that they exist. You should know that they exist because you are reading your Bible and the Bible tells you so. Can you read those passages that were outlined there, Tonya?
Okay, Ezekiel 1, verse 16, the appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of a beryl, which is a stone. And they four had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel.
Right.
Ezekiel 10, 9 and 10.
Yes.
And when I looked, behold, the four wheels by the cherubims, one wheel by one cherub, and another wheel by another cherub, and the appearance of the wheels was as the color of a beryl stone. And as for their appearances, they four had one likeness, as if a wheel had been in the midst of a wheel.
So you see, the saucer, or what they call the flying saucer, is mentioned by Ezekiel. As a matter of fact, Louis Farrakhan tells a story of being taken up into the wheel within wheels to have a meeting with the long departed Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, I don't doubt any of what is being said or any of that. I'm just not into the mystic stuff. You can show me when it's the end of my life, then you can show me, but I'm not really into all the mystic stuff while I'm here when I'm leaving. Take me up in the will of them will then as I'm leaving. But until then, I need not see those type of things. What would you like to say to that? Because the premise of it is that of course there is no white Jesus, but the premise is there's no Jesus because there's the will and will, but the will within wills were discussed. What would you like to say to that?
See, here's the thing, the problem that has always been the contradiction between science and scripture. See, actually, scripture validates science, and science actually validates scripture, as we have when science has proven that at some point in history there had to be a day that the sun and the moon stopped in order for us to have a 365-day calendar. There had to be a time in history where the sun and the moon stopped for a 24-hour period. That would validate the story of when, it escapes me right now, but where he had, the prophet had asked God to stop time while he dealt with a particular issue, and the scripture says that God did that. So that is verified by scripture. Scientists have proven that. Same thing with this. A lot of times, and this is what religion has done, when religion is what is the driving force of our interpretation, we tend to lose the things that we're supposed to have. So in Ezekiel, the wheel in the middle of a wheel is describing, if you go and look that word up, wheel, in the Hebrew, it is of uncertain derivative, which means that most of us who are awakened come to that same conclusion without ever having spoken to one another about it, that the wheel in the middle of a wheel, when you look at that, when you see it in your mind's eye, in your mind's vision, you're seeing a flying saucer. This is what you're seeing. And this is, different people have come to this conclusion from different religious backgrounds, those who have migrated out of religion into being awakened by the Spirit of God on the inside of them. All of us are coming to pretty much the same conclusions on things. But when you have religion, it stops that. So, but with this meme here, I love it so much because there's a couple of contradictions in here. There's a couple of things that we can go back and trace by scripture, but it's something, it is what do you call it, sarcasm in operation there, and it makes you go back and think, and it makes you go back, it tests what you know. It tests what you know. So the first line, you do realize that if UFOs exist, and they do, and then it goes on to attack the beliefs of certain things and the back and forth of certain things. So, I love the meme, and there's so much more that can be, it opens up a whole can of worms, but I love that meme. I need to take a snapshot of that because it's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good meme. It's a good meme. So let's keep moving now. Before we get into our topic, because the topic is coming up right now, smash your share button, smash your like button, smash the like button, smash the share button, smash the subscribe, like, follow. Where you are watching us at, make sure that you follow us, subscribe to us, right there where you're watching us at. Before we go any further, we must say that we are in the fight to combat this virus. And so we have our brand style of mask out. Get your smartphones out, right? Go to your PayPal, right? Go to your PayPal and then scan the QR code. This right here. Scan the QR code and then you will be able to order straight from PayPal. Make sure you include your name and your mailing address. That's one of the masks, but the green mask is the one that we are going to be moving. So you see the price. Make sure you include your name and your shipping address, right? Your name and shipping address. Then, of course, we have our fundraiser, right? We have our fundraiser. Let me bring that up there. We have our fundraising page. So grab your phone again and go to your regular QR code scanner and scan this QR code right here. It will take you to the steadfasting donations page, fundraising page. Proceeds go to expanding our already quality programming with more quality programming. All right, so let's get to the nitty gritty of what we are here for today. All right. If you will pull up that article that I sent to you in the messenger, Tonya, that's what we're going to be exploring today. All right, so let's look at this meme right here. The person who sent this meme, who put this meme up, said bootstraps. And the meme reads, the greatest wealth transfer program in the United States for whites. The greatest wealth transfer program in the United States for whites. DonaldWatkins.com. The greatest wealth transfer program in the U.S. for whites. And the person said at the top, bootstraps. Now, I don't know if you're new to coming in and watching us, but we open with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. What's going on to Peggy Butler? I see that she's watching. What's going on to her? Thanks for tuning in to watch. Thanks to everybody that is on YouTube watching us on the Film Review Live channel and on You Found the Spot channel. Make sure that you subscribe to both of those channels. Make sure that you like, share where you're at, follow where you're watching us at, right? So look, we open all the time with MLK, and MLK in his last days he was speaking to what we talk about, that if you had gone to Biden's program and read what he had to say about what he was going to do for people, he was going to leave American black people in debt. You should have read that. But what he was going to do for everyone else, which is the major game of this. Martin Luther King. We play Martin Luther King every time in the morning.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps.
All right. So we played that every morning that we come on at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. We talk this. This is Martin Luther King. This is 1967, 68. 1967, 68. This was the speech that he was getting together for the Poor People's March on Washington. And this was going to be one piece of the speech that had to deal with American black people. But then, of course, he was going to have the other part that had to do with those poor whites that did not get a chance to take care of this program that had been left out. Since then, since 1967, 68, those who were once immigrants who they brought over to do this, that they granted all of these set-asides to, that were actually American black set-asides, they granted it to them through the Immigration Act of 1965. At the same time that we got our Civil Rights Act, our Voting Rights Act, our Fair Housing Act, gosh, they passed the Immigration Act of 1965. Every time, and then they said, well, you're actually a minority, and some leaders after King was assassinated say, yes, that's true, we are minorities, and King explicitly says in his book, Where Do We Go From Here, that is not what we are. And that people have to prove that they're on our side before we get into coalition. They have to prove that they want to be. But I digress on that. We play this every morning, and then it seems like the things that we talk about all of a sudden show up months later. We've been talking about this, within different shows, hitting different points about this since we began this show last year, right? And now what we talk about seems to come out, and there is an article, this article right here, and we're going to go through this article. We have been we've been talking about this, but there is an article out. Now remember, that was 1967, 68, which was going to be part of the Poor People's March on Washington, right? So let's go through this article, Tanya. First of all, what is the article entitled? And then we're going to break in between and discuss. The phone lines are open if you want to get into the discussion. 213-943-3358. 213-943-3358. And what we tell you constantly is, if you had read what Biden was doing, he was playing the same playbook, except for it's going to be 11 million dreamers, 90,000 refugees, and 500,000 Indians from India, not to mention now the El Salvadorians and the Nicaraguans that are rushing the border, where he's going to have to put the kids in cages. Let's go through this article real quick. And if you had read, you wouldn't have voted against Satan with Lucifer. You just wouldn't have. Go ahead. Let's go through it.
The title of the article is The Greatest Wealth Transfer Program in the U.S. for Whites by Donald B. Watkins, originally published November 22nd, 2019. Subtitle, 124-year-long government-sponsored land giveaway program for whites. Land giveaway program for whites.
124-year program. 124-year program. Partly, this is why we weren't able to get the reparations, because for 124 years, they were working this program to diminish our stature in America. Go ahead and read on.
From 1862 to 1986, the United States government ran a homestead program that gave 992,058 white settlers and European immigrants, both documented and undocumented, a minimum of 160 acres of land from the Mississippi River to the west coast of America, including the Alaskan Territory. Authorized by the Homestead Act of 1862, this land giveaway program ended for all participating states in 1976 and ended for land awards in Alaska in 1986. White recipients in the land giveaway program were recruited through a widespread government-sponsored advertising campaign in newspapers in America and Europe. The land was awarded to applicants who promised to live on it and develop the land for 5 years. Title to the property vested at the end of this 5-year period.
Okay, so let's pause. Let's pause for a minute. Now you've heard of eminent domain. Eminent domain. You often see that in contracts for leases or whatever. If the city should come in and take the land on eminent domain, why? Why can the government come in and take the land on eminent domain? And many times you see that the government does come in for private industry and take land from people who have had it in their families since 1862. Right? Because they didn't pay anything for the land. They got the land for free. So they really didn't have any claim to the land other than it being given to them in this transfer of wealth. Right? Transferring the wealth that was supposed to be the American black wealth, transferring it on to people who were coming from other countries, and this is still what is happening now. Remember, they said documented and undocumented, but these are the same people who Martin Luther King said are saying, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. These are the same people, but these now are the same people who say they don't want to see undocumented workers in the United States. They don't want to see the immigrants coming into the United States. These are the same people. We don't want to see the immigrants coming in because we know what the larger game is. It's about the alienation of American blacks. So let's keep reading.
All right. So claimants paid total filing fees of $18 and $1.25 per acre after 6 months of residency. These below-market land acquisition rates essentially made the land a free gift to the recipient. Congress passed additional laws in 1873 that allowed the government to award larger tracts of land to these white settlers and immigrants. A lot of the land grants, including property that had timber rights, mineral rights, and oil and gas reserves, all of which the government eventually released to the landowner through various legislative enactments. In all, more than 270 million acres of valuable land, about 10% of the land area of the United States, was given to the white settlers and immigrants.
Okay. Let's hold. Wait. Okay. So look, what's happening now? Remember last year we were doing the shows. What's happening around 1877? The Dred Scott decision. It basically said there was no law that applied to the white man that he had to follow as far as the black man, meaning that the black man was not seen as any person that could hold land, property, even be able to defend himself with a gun. These are the things that are happening at the time. Good morning to Miss Ash. I see she's, chiming in. These are the things that are happening. What was happening in 1820? Remember what was happening in 1820 with the right to vote? Right? The American black man got the right to vote. The women's suffrage movement, Caucasians, did not like that. They didn't get the right to vote until 1920, but the American black woman didn't get the right to vote until way after that, not until the Civil Rights Act of the Voters' Rights Act of 1965. Let that sit there for a minute, right? Also, what was going on in 1877 was the man in Louisiana who was trying to pass, I can't think of his name right now, but we did a whole show on him and how all this correlated together. How he wanted to be able to ride in the whites only car because he was octoroon. And they said, no, you had little one drop of black blood, you are black, you will be riding in the car. So the civil rights kicked off with a man who was really not about being black and having rights. He was about passing for white and wanting to be in the car. That's how the civil rights laws began. And we showed you all that. You need to go back and watch those shows. We dropped a lot of information. The phone lines are open. 213-943-3358. 213-943-3358. This is amazing. Dred Scott, I believe, was in 1863. A few years, no, it was after 1865. So 1867 and 1877, if I'm remembering my dates correctly. But all of it is there on the show. But bottom line, all this is going around at the same time. So while they're doing what they're doing in 1862, all of this is swirling around. 1865 is coming. Then 1877, Dred Scott, and then later the man who wanted to ride on the all-white car. Right? So continue on.
Was that Homer Plessy?
Homer Plessy, that right. What year was that? I might be wrong on the years, but it happened after the Dred Scott decision.
You're right. It was 1877.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was during the time of the withdrawal of federal troops. It was around that time Plessy experienced the reversal of the gains achieved under the federal occupation following the withdrawal of federal troops, 1877, on the orders of U.S. President Rutherford Hayes. Yeah, it was all around that time where he was trying to pass and whatnot, but that was the year that's mentioned here.
Yeah, so going on forward. So all this is going on around the same time, and they delegitimized black men because black men had just got the vote in 1820. Yeah, go ahead.
The Homestead Act of 1862 was a 124-year-long government-sponsored wealth transfer program for a particular class of people, white settlers and immigrants. It was the longest-running, race-based affirmative action program in United States history. Ironically, some of the descendants of the beneficiaries of this affirmative action program for whites were the first ones to claim their status as the victims of reverse discrimination in the 1970s and 80s. An estimated $10 trillion, when measured in today's present value, was transferred to white homesteaders essentially for free. This land giveaway program made thousands of millionaires in the agricultural, timber, mining of natural resources, and the oil and gas industry.
Okay, stop right there. Stop right there. Okay. So Biden most recently signed an executive order to kill the Keystone Pipeline. They just sent in Kamala to speak to the people in West Virginia. Now, what is the last? You can't make this up. I mean, this is when you read history, it becomes funny. It's like a comical show of constant error. It's like a bunch of constant errors taking place from people who don't really know what they're doing. So look, they are taking away the livelihood of people who had gotten this land back in 1862 to mine they turned it to mining companies that employed other immigrants to go in and do this. This has been in their line of people since 1862, once these businesses were established, maybe 10 years after 1862 when all this was established. And the oil, so all of this is discovered, and then they began to distribute it out to these immigrants. This is our birthright because we were here, but they hand it over to these other people. So now, they just now cut the Keystone Pipeline, which I had told you on the show. I really don't have anything to say because I understand this history. And so really what they're cutting from them, is really our birthright. So cut it from them. That's what I say. I really don't have. But my thing is, if they're able to do it to them, what will they be able to do to American blacks, right? That's one thing. Two, they're messing with the West Virginians and the coal mines. And here comes Kamala. They send Kamala in. I believe, on a dummy mission, right? She should have had her crash test dummy. She should have had her crash test dummy helmet because they sent her in on a crash test dummy mission. Okay, look. They sent her in. Who is the last person that these people who are descendants of immigrants that came in now we told you that most of the whites that are here now came in after the deed was done in 1776, 1619, 1310. I mean, most of these whites came in 1862. We told you. Remember we were telling you about the kid who is now, they say that they can't find him, the one who shot the two white boys up there in Kenosha. They say they can't find him now, but his last name, doesn't come into the United States until 1870. We traced it. We told you. It came in from out of Canada. When you study history, you see how that's right, Kyle, what's his last name? Kyle Rittenhouse or something like that, right? His last name doesn't come into the United States until 1870. We've been here since it all began. We were here before Columbus, and then 388,000 of us were dropped off on the land from Africa, from the mid-Atlantic, transatlantic slave trade, right? So when you read history, you understand what we're doing. This is our birthright being shipped off, being redistributed, a redistribution of wealth, and it is now time for them to redistribute the wealth back to the American black, and they don't want to do it because they're coming up with more ways. They're bringing more immigrants in to do the same thing. But see, what it is Caucasians are dwindling. When I was young, we talked about this the other day. It was 8.5. percent of the global population were Caucasians, and they have places where they have pockets where they're densely packed and makes it look like they're the majority, but they're minority around the world globally by population. Now they're at 8, and they're headed down to 7.9, 7.5%. So they have run out, and so the only way that they can keep this going is now to start bringing in the brown that have been indoctrinated into hating the American black. They've been indoctrinated into it. Not to mention that many of their rules and their laws in their country has to do with caste systems of color, dark skin, light skin, that were put in place by the Spaniards, by the Portuguese, who were dividing the people up. And how could you expect to get a fair shake from those who look at you as untouchables in your own land, and they're giving them all of the set-asides that you're supposed to have, just like they did the people who were doing the coal and doing the oil. Those are supposed to be our industries. And so that's why I said when that happened about the Keystone Pipeline, I say, well, you know, that doesn't have anything to do with us really, other than what they will do to us. And as far as the coal mining, what would be the last embodiment that they would want to see represented? This symbolic embodiment of what is supposed to be American black. We would rather have had Barbara Jordan speak, because Barbara Jordan would have spoke with authority, and she would have known what she was talking about. How come Kamala Harris just didn't take time to research what she... When we come on this show every day, we come on researched and ready to inform you and give you information about something. How come she just didn't take the time? Because she has never taken the time. And she's always been able to get away with that Negro babble. But she wasn't able to get away with that Negro babble from a group of people who the last person that they want to see is someone in the embodiment of a black person telling them about becoming landmine removers. I mean, just let that breathe. Let that breathe for a minute. I mean, you gotta let it breathe. You gotta let it breathe. Just breathe. What the Fabulous used to say, breathe. You gotta breathe. You gotta let that breathe for a minute. You gotta look at it.
Everywhere they step, they gonna blow up.
Is that your sister girl? Is that your sister girl? She was unprepared. I would return my chucks and my pearls, and I would say, hey, I have to look at the people in that particular year of the pink and green that really accepted her in, because her doctorate is said to be honorary and not something that she earned through scholarship. We can look that up real quick. Her doctorate is said to be something that was honorary and not something that she earned through scholarship, which means that there is no study actually there. No study actually there. No use of mental acumen, and you can see that that is possibly truly the truth, because do you want her to be your sister girl? She was on the stage. This was not the biggest of stages, but because of how she fumbled the football, and after she fumbled the football, not only did she fumble the football, but she kept kicking the football in the defense's direction of their offense, which meant that the ball kept being kicked down to the other end zone to score a touchback for, or a touchdown if one of the defenders got to her and pulled the ball away from her and ran in to get a touchdown. It would be a touchback. Or a touchdown, depending. She kept on fumbling and kicking the football in the wrong direction. Because they were coal miners, they could be landmine removers. Yeah. It's really interesting when you see people who are not prepared to be on the big stage. You don't have anything. You're in that big monstrosity of a house for the vice president across from the White House, and you mean you didn't have time to study what you need to study to have a better person? Kamala needs to come better. Well, I'm gonna start calling her Kamala. I'm gonna start calling Kamala. Okay, but I'm being nice. Kamala. I know a lot of us call her Kamala. The blacks call her Kamala because they think that's black. But she's Kamala because she's actually Indian. She liked her Indian side. She was raised by her mother. Now, this is common sense. Before I have my sister speak here. This is common sense. We can see this play out in life. And you can tell me, you can call in 213-943-3358. We are available for all the smoke. I need to hear from you. All those people that were supporters, you voted, all that, we need to hear from you. Listen. If you are a person that your parents split and you were raised by your mother, most of the time your allegiance is not to the male who lended the seed that impregnated the egg that brought you about. It's just common sense. So when she is more on the Indian side of things, then she will be on the Jamaican side of things. But she went to Howard to get that black bona fides, and she uses that knowledge of what she believes to be woe is me from black people to fool black people and use them while she incarcerated them while she was AG. But she was so-called a black woman. Is this your sister, girl? Would you really want her to represent you? Would you really want her to take the presidency and be over in other lands and talking, and she's talking that Negro babble that she was talking, and start a disagreement and start some wars with foreign leaders foreign lands whose dignitaries take offense to what she's saying, like she's trying to play them dumb, like she tried to play the descendants of immigrants who work in the coal mines, who are perfect for landmine removers. You can't make this up.
You know what?
You can't make it up. It's just like Chuck Schumer talking about Donald Trump was the cause, and he was the cause of the erection. You just can't make this stuff up. When they were talking about 50-50 with the tiebreaker being Kamala Harris, and they didn't deal and think about the blue dog Democrats like Manchin, who they're basically one step away from just putting the hood back on. Like, they didn't think this out. Anyway, go ahead.
I just want to explain to the people why this is such a thing, the difference between coal mining and land mining. This is one of the funniest things this year. This got us started. All right, so a coal mine, we know that coal is used as a natural resource, right? And coal mining is the process of extracting coal from the ground. Coal is valued for its energy content, and since the 1880s, has been widely used to generate electricity. Steel and cement industries use coal as a fuel for extraction of iron from iron ore and from cement production. So Coal is in the ground and has to be extracted. All right? A landmine, however, is something different. A landmine is an explosive. A landmine is an explosive device that's planted in the ground. So it's input in the ground. And it's for the purpose of destroying an enemy or an opponent. Usually how landmines are detonated is when something steps on it of a certain weight class or a vehicle drives over it, it causes it to detonate, which then explodes whatever it is that went over it. So you see where this would be a problem, that our vice president of the United States is delivering a speech and an address somewhere and has the terminologies confused. And let me tell you this, because I don't want to hear it, all right? The same level of excellence goes across the board. When you want to speak of a president, y'all ran Trump in the ground for some of his incorrect grammar and all kinds of stuff. Y'all ran that in the ground. So we need to apply the same rules, and we certainly don't give a pass. In fact, I'm going to be more scrutinizing on those that's supposed to, well, let me see. I'll be more scrutinizing on the ones that are purporting to be my own. Purporting to be my own than I would others, because I'm expecting a certain level of excellence. I don't expect a downgrade. I don't expect that. I expect a certain level of excellence. But see, because you guys did not do your research and you don't listen, this is what we have representing us and what you are calling black. Representing us in speeches that's going nationwide, worldwide. A landmine and a coal mine.
Look.
Anyway, back to the article.
Okay, yeah. Let me say this, and then we can come back to the article. So, now remember, what we're saying to you is this is our birthright. The oil, the coal, we built this. This was supposed to be the natural jobs that we went into because we built the boy in the first place, right? They haven't been able to find a group of people that can do it like we do it, right? So you got the immigrants, and they're really upset and really in a tizzy, and they're everything is bunched up. They are suffering from an acute form of constipation now, right? Do you want that woman representing you as a black woman? I've known a lot of black women in my time. I've known many black women of many different types of stripes. Just talking to them, many different types of mentalities, right? And I've never met one that would stand up there on the big stage and not be prepared to be able to deliver. That's all I'm going to say. But she's representing you, and you voted for Sister Girl. Okay, so back to point now. The gas and the coal, you need coal to be able to bring the cement. See, look, if you're going to stop the Keystone Pipeline and you're going to stop the coal, but you can't really stop coal because coal is used to extract out iron ore. So you really can't stop coal. It's stupid move. Stupid move, because how are you going to extract the iron ore if you want to rebuild the infrastructure? Now, if you had plans to move the people, the pipe fitters and all that. Oh, that is a major clip right there. That is a major clip. Always around this time too. Just when I get to the crescendo of my point, they want to do it. But we're gonna be back. Go ahead and kick it. We're gonna be right back. We're gonna come right back. Yes, yes. Okay. After a while, it just gets routine. It's just a routine. It's the it's the stymie of the black people, of American black people. This is a perfect example of the stymie that they do. Okay. Right there. That is a major hole. What? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think we're getting ready to kick out. Oh, look. There we go.
Be right back.
It's my sister talking and they'll hold her, or making, if she's making a point, or they'll come over and hold me up, and then my sister is free to talk, right? That's the way it is, right? They're going on. Don't give it a second. Don't give it a second. Wow, man. Get your mind right. Get your mind right, old presser. Get your mind right. Yeah, get your mind right, old presser. So look, how are you going to stop coal? See, when we get to the common sense points, that's when it starts clipping. Right? It's common sense. It should. I just wish that they would transform. Transform. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's really a joke. When we get to the crescendo, we get to the point that we're getting ready to make before we go on with the rest of the article. They say, oh no, it's those people that control the bots that are immigrants. Who owns Google? What's he look like? He's an immigrant. Who owns Facebook? Who does he employ most? He employs immigrants. They're in control of the bots. Who owns these different outlets that are practicing a totalitarian type tactics as far as freedom of speech? Oh, who are the immigrants? Right. Okay. All right. So you know, they've somewhat tried to get it together. Okay. All right. So look, how are you going to stop coal when you need the coal to extract iron ore out to be able to build with? You need to build to get the metals out, iron ore, to make the steel that will be the steel beams for building. How are you going to do that? The pipe fitters should have been automatically moved over to projects that had to do with infrastructure. Infrastructure should be one of those executive orders. I'm trying to help you out. Why are you clipping me? I'm trying to help you think, Joe Biden, because we know that the person that's your VP knows nothing about infrastructure or nothing about cutting lawns, nothing about edging lines, nothing about... See, my mother used to be in the house, and my mother was good with her hands. She would create things. She knew measurements. She knew how to trim things. There's a rock formation that she made, and it still is there today, that she used putty, a type of cement, and the rock formation is behind the china cabinet. My mother did all that. She laid the mirrors. She measured everything. My mother understood what it was to work with your hands. Kamala Harris doesn't know that. Thus, and so that's why she would mix up mining coal with landmine extraction. So my point is, all of those people should have been moved over. They stopped clipping because they said, oh, he's trying to help. That's why I'm trying to help you think, Joe Biden. You need to have some executive orders about building our crumbling infrastructure so that we can compete with Dubai. So have you ever seen Dubai? You should go and look at some of these places that are built up that were supposed to be third world countries. Go look at Dubai and look at your neighborhood. Look at Dubai's freeway system and then look at your freeway system. Look at the American freeway system that hasn't been updated since they were cutting through different black areas of commerce to break up black economics. Haven't been updated since the 40s and the 50s. We're in 2021. Buildings crumbling, bridges falling. Donald Trump said he wanted to be a person that came in and built on infrastructure. That's what he wanted to do. They blocked him so much that he was going to get to infrastructure in the next 4 years because that's what he did. He was a builder. He was a businessman who built things, who knew how to utilize construction companies to build things. Biden don't know nothing about that. He was a football player. 1.9, 1.6 grade point average. Kamala definitely doesn't know anything about that. We know by how she fumbled this. She fumbled it all the way back to the 1 yard line, and they tackled her in the end zone and got a touchback. Look. Infrastructure should be on the table, and those people who are skilled artisans would move over. But however, who really cares who are really American black, because those are our jobs actually, because we actually built it. They just brought these people in and taught them, and most likely used us to teach them, because the people who were here didn't know about the modernist of conveniences, because all of the conveniences that you deal with today, from air conditioning to refrigeration systems, etc., were made by the people who were actually working. And the people who were actually working were American blacks. Let's continue with the article about the immigrants and the wealth transfer from the hands of American blacks onto immigrants, Caucasian immigrants coming into this country, now to be brown-skinned immigrants who are indoctrinated coming into this country. Let's continue on.
In addition to the gift of free public land to these white program recipients, the government built land-grant colleges to teach those settlers how to farm. It provided them with county agents to further their expertise in farming and the commercialization of natural resources running with the land.
Okay, hold that right there. What does Martin Luther King say in the speech? Let's play it again, and then rewind and read that again after we listen to what Martin Luther King said.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, Today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps.
So go back to that paragraph and read that dead spot on to what Martin Luther King was saying back in 67, 68. Read it again.
In addition to the gift of free public land to these white program recipients, the government built land-grant colleges to teach these settlers how to farm. It provided them with county agents to further their expertise in farming and the commercialization of natural resources running with the land. It also gave them low-interest loans so that they could mechanize their farms. Then, it provided them billions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm certain crops. Almost a direct quote. Almost. From the outset, blacks were not allowed to participate in the 1862 Homestead Act land giveaway program. The United States Supreme Court had already decided on a 7-2 vote in the 1857 Dred Scott case that blacks or freed or slaves had no right and white men were bound to respect that. Okay, let me read that again. In a 7-2 vote in the 1857 Dred Scott case that blacks freed or slaves had no right that white men were bound to respect. This holding included the right to own property. Wow. The unfulfilled promise of 40 acres for freed slaves.
Okay, hold that right there. You see this, right? What was going on? We keep on telling you, you just need to go through the hit when you pull and you open up. And then what's happening at the same time in 1810 in Tasmania? The Germans have come over to the United States and learned how, and the South Africans came over and learned how the Euros here dealt with American blacks and went over there. They went back and started apartheid. And they went back to, the Germans went over to Tasmania, cousins to the Australian Aborigines, and wiped them out. Then they went and then wiped out who they thought was their economic nemesis, Jewish people. Through what they learned in the United States of America. Oh, when you read the history, you see what we are actually up against. And anyone that tells you that we shouldn't have reparations either is willfully lying to themselves, thus they are lying to you, or they don't understand history and they don't know, just plain and simple, what happened to the Jewish people within 95 years during World War I and World War II and forming Jerusalem, getting protection from the United Nations to be there. And it's taken us, it's 401. The way it's going to be 402 because Barbara Lee is in head of this, and there's going to be kicked down the can another 50 years. We won't even be here. You see, so it's a game. So meanwhile, while we were supposed to, if we had got the 40 acres and a mule, which was in a smaller area, but we got the 40 acres and a mule and were able to work our businesses, then we would have discovered oil, and those would have been our land and our oil reserves. We would have discovered coal, then we would have been able to make industry. But in the meantime, after we were free, they went about destroying every economic source that we had when we pulled ourselves up by bootstraps that we didn't even have. We had to make them. while they were giving these people free everything. While they were giving them free everything, we had to make our bootstraps. We had to put the leather together to make the boot. We had to create the machine to put the, I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it is the sole. I forget what they call it, but it's the sole where it sews the sole onto the leather upper and sews the sole on. We had to create those machines to even make the boots. We had to create the laces to have straps. Keep reading. Here we go. The lie that was 40 acres and a mule and them not keeping their word about it. Read on.
The unfulfilled promise of 40 acres for freed slaves. Union Army General William T. Sherman's Special Field Order Number 15, issued on January 16, 1865, set aside land for freed black slaves. With this order, 400,000 acres of land described as a strip of coastline stretching from Charleston, South Carolina to the St. Johns River in Florida, including Georgia's Sea Island and the mainland 30 miles in from the coast, was to be reallocated to emancipated slaves in the South. Each slave family was entitled to 40 acres of land in this strip. Abraham Lincoln's successor, President Andrew Johnson, a Southern and sympathizer with the Confederate States, vetoed Order Number 15 in the fall of 1865. With this veto, the land was returned to the very planters who declared war on the United States of America. As a result, black slaves were never awarded the public lands that were promised to them by the United States government. Instead, former slaves, for the most part, became sharecroppers on the lands they used to work as slaves. Epilogue. For 4 centuries, property ownership has been the greatest source of wealth in the United States. 10% of the land area of the United States was given to white settlers and European immigrants, essentially for free, for a period of 124 years. The last component of the government's land giveaway program for whites just ended in 1986. In contrast, the 400,000 acres was set aside for free black slaves. The land allotment was 40 acres. This land was never given to them. As a result, blacks in the South and elsewhere languished in abject poverty for the next 100 years. This poverty was accompanied by widespread racial violence against blacks nationwide, rigidly enforced racial segregation, ingrained racial discrimination, and massive resistance to equal rights for blacks. The next time you hear people say the black man ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps, please remind them of the white privilege embedded in these laws and historical events.
So you see, people, when we say what's happening in the black community, black neighborhoods, what's happening, everything is not our fault. When we say it's the fault of the Caucasian, it's the fault of the United States government, it is. And Biden's policies are the same policies following that track of thought, which is a segregationist, they're clipping again, a segregationist tract of thought. That is what's happening. That is what's happening. So when we say it is not black people's fault, but it is white people's fault, that is the history. So I don't want to hear people talking about all the niggas just shifty and lazy. When you have a whole group of people, it takes a nation of fucking millions to hold us back. Public Enemy minus the effing. It takes a nation of millions. So when I don't want to hear people talking about people or the niggas just lazy, using the talking points of whites. I don't want to hear that anymore. When you start to unpack his story, our story. We built the boy. We had all the skill abilities. They moved us. They moved us from off of what we were supposed to have. We kept developing and kept coming back. And they kept on finding ways to destroy what we were doing. Later, for those people who don't know anything, who want to be anti-black and they're black themselves. Later for you, later for the African immigrants coming over, don't know that we were pushing Pan-Africanism, so you would come over here, get your education like you're supposed to get your education in Britain, and then take it back to Africa to make that African utopia where it's not a continent with countries, but a country with 54 states. Later for you, later for that, later for all those people that don't know anything, don't have enough knowledge, enough grasp of history, don't want to open a book, don't want to read, voted for Joe Biden. Because he had a so-called black woman on his ticket who, when her time to be on a middle stage, she fumbled the fucking football. And it made black people look bad. But luckily, I do not say that what a black person does, it condemns all of us. No. I'm like white people. Oh, they did that to you? Oh, that wasn't me, though. Her fumbling the football is not me because I'm prepared all the time. But whites now have to take and accept and admit to the wrong that they have done as a collective whole. Because if you have done it as an individual people, seeing the way the wind was blowing, reading the tea leaves, and going that way, and cheated people out of land, treated people unfairly, lynched, drawed, and quartered, did all that to people. Your ancestors came over here and took something from us that belonged to us, and now the 11 million dreamers, the 90,000 migrants per year, and the 500,000 Indians from India, because we have a vice president that's actually Indian and not American black, they are moving them in to take what is ours, like has traditionally been done. It is all their fault, because our communities could be so much stronger if you hadn't ran highways through them. If you hadn't have been racist, jealous motherfuckers and destroyed all of the commerce business that we have built over time. If you hadn't brought people in and had black people who had built it take these places, all of this shit will be running more efficient right now, and the infrastructure would not be crumbling. You did that, white people. And Joe Biden, you didn't know enough history to be able to make an educated decision, and all people said was just vote down ballot, don't vote for the president. But you went out there, you wanted to be a good nigger, a good Negro for this segregationist, and you are seeing it, and you are seeing how it is coming to reap what you have sold. You sold this, you ignorant, not wanting to be educated about our plight as American black people. Just look in the mirror and say that you hate yourself. Look in the mirror, seriously, look in the mirror and say, hey, I must really hate myself because I put a segregationist in who caused Generation X to be destroyed with 3 strikes, and before that, 100 to 1, and before that, he didn't want his kids being bused into the jungles. And you also are a group of people who got your voting rights back because Reagan was selling that, it was brought in the cocaine, it was turned into crack to fund a war against Nicaragua, and those niggas are coming over here now, coming to the border. And then you get your voter rights back and you vote for the very man who put you in prison. You don't know one concept of history, and that is your problem, and that is why we are in the condition that we are in. And if you don't know enough, you shouldn't make a move until you educate yourself. And we are in a bind because if they let in those, if they get those dreamers within 8 years instead of 13 years in, they let in the migrants 90,000 a year, and they have the 500,000 Indians. Have you been in the hospital system? When you get in the hospital system, you're going to see who your intake person is, who your nurse is, who your doctor is. And again, if you get an American black, you have hit the jackpot that day. Thank you, Obama. 8 years of Obama. Let's see, what's Christian say? Facts. And I'm working my butt off right now to shake this mess. They even have the spirit realm helping their movement. Shaking my head, she said. That's right. You better pay attention, Tonya M. Congress said. Listen. What you got to say?
You know, out of all the shows that we have done, I mean, each show is very informative and everything like that. And it's hard because we have to deliver the information to you. It's hard to contain the emotional side of things sometimes. But this is absolutely right. The things that have transpired in history, don't get mad. White people, don't get mad. Because if we don't say it, history has already screamed it. Here is the problem. Back to black people. You don't read, don't study, you don't research. And you would think, since you don't do none of those, you would at least listen. And so since you're not going to research, you're not going to read, you're not going to get invested, at least listen to know. But y'all don't do that. So I've had people say to me, because see, remember we had said last year, we said that, you know, it's going to be a lot of dancing. Boy, this is funny, it's coming back. I remember now because we said people was going to be dancing, celebrate good times, you know, and then it was going to go from, yeah, ooh, yeah, to, I wish you had the picture of the mountain lion.
I don't want to be on the hamster wheel. Like, you know, we don't even mention the hamster wheel. The people you need to know about the hamster wheel, go back and listen to the previous shows. We are now 10,000 pages ahead. We're not doing the hamster wheel, so I don't want to repeat the mountain lion face too often. It will come back, but, you know, we're going to wait until about a year in, and it's really going to... And if you feel that like it's a slur, listen. Black people can use the word nigga. Not like that country singer that's losing everything. I can use the word. We use it as a term of endearment. We use it as a word I can't stand that nigga. He just like, you my nigga. What's up, nigga? What's going on? You know, we're able to use it. You can't use it. Sorry. We can use it. Go ahead.
So, you know, with me, I attach that word to a type of mentality. And so this is a mentality in which we describe where you don't research, you don't read, and you don't listen. So my grandmother and my mother always said a hard head make a soft behind, right? They use another word. Yeah, a hard head make a soft behind. So when you read this article that we just read at the intricacies of the efforts put forth to make sure you don't have anything, and what's getting to me is that I know that we're still listed in the Constitution as 3/5 of a man. I don't know, whatever it was they said that is not effective anymore. I don't believe it. If it doesn't matter anymore, then take it out of there. That's how I feel. If it don't matter, why is it still there? It's still there because it has some weight. You're not going to make me believe that it doesn't mean anything, and it's still there. Sorry, I don't have the nostrils on the side of my neck. My head don't screw on at all. So, you know, this is one of these shows where today, this is a very sobering, because if you haven't realized you've been put in a catch-22 of not being able to advance forward, but so far, if you don't realize that there is a proverbial leash on you, and you did not take the time to go research, if you had went to Joe Biden's site leading up to the election, the only thing there was about 5 or 6 different places in there for people of color that didn't have nothing to do with us. When we got to us, the title of the box and the link was lift every voice and sing. Are you kidding me? This is a joke. And then you bring in this person and I guess y'all said, you know what? They took it the first time. Let's do it again. They took it the first time. They didn't elect it. We brought in whatever his nationality was. And because he had brown skin, we called him black. He did nothing for us. But we took that, and some of us are still mentally incapacitated to say he was the best president we ever had. Now we are on the proverbial screwing part 2. Some of y'all gonna be saying this was the best president and best vice president we ever had. They made a heck of a team. Because you know how I know it's gonna be that way? Because I got people saying, well, you know, he realized the error of his ways with the racism and stuff back in the 70s when he had said that stuff about he didn't want his kids in the jungles. And then, you know, he made amends. He realized that the 100 to 1 and the 3 strikes, you know, he's making amends now. Yeah? Where? 40 executive orders in, and nothing towards us at all. Not even with the police reform. Oh, which, by the way, was promised by the vice. 42 executive orders in. Now, which, by the way, our vice president-elect said would be addressed in the first 100 days. I don't know how she's going to address anything accurately when she don't know the difference between a coal mine and a land mine. So this is what we're looking at. And y'all don't understand what the hell is going on here. Listen.
Oh my God.
I'm done for now. This right here, this is it. So you want to, oh my God. Oh, is that the minister talking? She's so angry. She's so volatile. No, I'm being truthful. And religion has been part of this debauchery that leads up to our incapacitation. Let me tell you something. We are exhibiting acute forms a mental illness in the ways that we are viewing things, and the ways we are looking at things, the way we are interpreting things and processing things. It's mentally ill. It fits the profile.
Okay. Kristen says, I have a question. This is many in one. For those who lift up our ancestors, why and how do you suspect they handled these things and why they were not successful? Did they, and how can we in this place? But they did not complete the so-called mission. How can you lead me at what was not done? A damn trace. Right? How can you lead me? Trance, a damn trance. That's right. How can you lead me at what was not done? A damn trance. Europe Express. It was out there line dancing. The trance. Europe Express. JB's monorail. Disco lady. Move it in, move it out, shake it in, all about disco lady. This is the BT Express.
Now, you know what, y'all, not to disparage anybody's believing that, there are people who have a deep belief in consulting with the ancestors and stuff like that. And only point of contention that we'd like to submit to you is that how did they fare in, like Kristen said, their mission? If they fail at their mission, how are you consulting them on how to successfully lead you in your mission? Think. It sounds deep and spiritual to say that you're consulting with the ancestors, but how are they going to lead you where they had not been able to go?
And then
not to disparage them, honor to the ancestors, honor to them with due. But
I mean, remember we saw the meme, we put the meme up a couple of months ago where the person was talking about you do something and you heal the ancestors. I said, you healing the ancestors? I thought you were calling on the ancestors for their wisdom. I don't want to divert. Let me. Krista says, no, really, I'm having a hard time accepting consulting the dead for knowledge. Right, you know what I'm saying? But we're not going to divert off that. We'll probably do a show on that. But we need to stay on this.
Yeah.
Because people are not educating themselves. And that's what it is. The politics of his story and our story is a comical tragedy. And when you sit there and you read this stuff, you'll say, I can't believe it, and this is how this is traced, and this is what this man is about. And then you wouldn't fall for it, but you fell for it. You gotta look in the mirror and say, I hate myself. I hate myself. I hate everything. I really need to. Do you remember that videotape that came on Facebook where the black woman, she had an afro and she had some white paint and she was butt naked and she was painting herself white? She said, I'm gonna save myself by painting myself all the way white. And she painted herself white. She was definitely suffering from some kind of mental illness, but she painted herself white. You're not painting yourself to try to make yourself safe. You just want to be white. You just want to be white. So you voted because you want to be white. You want to be in that number when the saints go marching in. Guess what, though? But they ain't saints, though. When the demons, I want to be in that number. When the demons come marching in. What do you think they marching to? What do you think these people going to, really? What do you think Biden is going to? Talking out the side of his neck. What do you think that Kamala is really going to? Right, I don't have no heaven or hell to put people into. I'm just observing. The woman's not ready for the woman's not ready for prime time. Go ahead.
When you talk about picking yourself up by your own bootstraps, well, if you stole the straps, see, this is why when they put guys in jail, they take their shoelaces out.
They take their belt.
They can't loose up, right, and their belt. That's right. So if you go down to slip your shoe back on, your pants go fall down to the ground. So you are completely uncovered, behind out. Behind out. Your shoelaces are gone. That is symbolic. Them taking your shoelaces. That is symbolic. Because you can't walk, so what you got to drag your feet. You drag your feet, and guess what that's symbolic of? Walking with the chain, ball and chain socks on your ankle. That's the only way you could walk. So when your shoelaces are taken, in order to keep your shoes on, you got to drag your feet in short steps. The same as having the ball and chain on.
Now, how they would solve that was to get some of those boat shoes, the McGilligan boat shoes with the elastic on the little side there, and you just slide into it. You just slide into the shoe.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have your people send you something in your commissary, and they will send you some of them shoes, and you'll be walking regular. I don't know about your pants. Got to hold your pants still. You know, you don't want them doing whatever they do, you know. But look, this has been a robust show, I must say. We have hit a lot of information today, right? Listen, this Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern is hashtag TFR Podcast Live, the film review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast, the first episode in Black History Month. We've got a jam-packed show. We got a lot of information. We're going to be reviewing some films. I'm going to keep that to myself. I'm going to announce it tomorrow on Friday. But we also have a new segment called, this is not a black film, but 2 hours that I could never get back from watching this movie. It's a 2 hours you can never get back. We got a new feature on the show. Thanks to our producer, Tracy, who came up with the title, 2 hours that we will never get back of watching this movie. That's right. So, you know, tune in because we have a jam-packed show. We got the top 20. We're going each week because it's 4 weeks. We're going 4 Sundays. We're going each Sunday with top 20. We're starting with entertainment films that you should watch during Black History Month and beyond. Something that ties in the gaps that history, these films that tie in history through music, right? And then, of course, you know, before us at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon is What's the Point? My sister's show that comes on Google Podcasts, on TuneIn, on Stitcher, and of course we are now on iHeartRadio again, you know, rebuilding after we rebranded, right? And then, of course, Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern is hashtag Observations TFR, what you watch right now, Monday through Friday. Tomorrow is freaking Friday. Things that you might not have seen during the week. You need to tune in. They did not clip us because they realized that we just didn't give a... Anyway, people, we will see you tomorrow on another great episode of #Observations TFR.
Here's the thing about Germany, why I made a curator's pick of the Hollywood Fringe. Community, heart,
Observations TFR, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday.